We're going to be working through Word Module 3 Textbook Project. In this module, we will be creating a business letter. But before we actually type the letter up, we are going to be creating a letterhead. So we'll go ahead and get our start file. Alright, so we're going to grab our start file, download that, and we're going to download our support file as well. Then go ahead and hit the continue button, and we're going to highlight the expected file name. We'll do a right click and copy, and then we can use our X to close out of this textbook project in Cengage, and then we can just minimize our internet browser, and we will then open up Microsoft Word. And then I will find those files that I just downloaded. Alright, so as we begin here, remember we do start with a blank document. So the first thing that I want to have us do is we're going to change that file name. So we'll go up to the File menu, we'll come down and we'll choose Save As. Then you can navigate to the location that you want to make sure you're saving this to. Right now mine's going to download, so I'm going to browse and find a different location for that. So here's my spring 2021, and down here where the file name is, once I right click on that, I can just hit the paste button, and this is the correct file name that I need. So I'm going to click save, and now all I have to do throughout this is click that save button up here on the quick access toolbar, or do a Control S every once in a while just to make sure I've saved my current changes. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger for us as we work through this. So we're going to be creating a business letter. Like I said, we're going to start by making the letterhead, and that's about half of the modules, creating the letterhead. Seems like a lot, but there's a lot of little things in there that we're going to be doing. And then on part of the letter, we're going to be putting in some smart art graphics and working with those as well. If you want to be working with the non-printing characters on, you can click the Show Hide button to show those. Like I said earlier, sometimes those are easier to work with when you're needing to get stuff in a specific place. If they bother you, you can always work without them. So we'll start out by putting in a rectangular shape. So to insert a shape, we do need to go to our Insert tab. In our Insert tab, then we will see some in the Illustration section, the shapes. And we're going to click on that and find the rectangular shape. It should be in the Recently Used. If not, then it should be down in the rectangle section there. There's a whole section on it. So either way you find that, grab that rectangle, and then when you come down into your document, you'll see a white plus sign, and you're just going to click, and we go about ½ an inch tall and about 5 inches wide. So you can kind of gauge by your ruler bar. Like this is probably about 5 inches. But once we have it selected, you can then come to your Shape Format tab. If it's not automatically selected as your choice, you can click on that and then come over to the far right end, and you'll see I did pretty good, 0.51 by 4.99. So you can change that to 5 by 0.5 if you want to, and that way you'll have it the size that it has suggested, and hopefully everything else will fit accordingly then. In your textbook, the next thing that it talks about is floating versus inline objects. And you may have worked with some different objects before. You may have gotten a little frustrated by the way that text does or doesn't type by them, or it moves everything around on you. So this section, WD 3-2B on floating versus inline objects, will be very beneficial for you to read to see the understanding or know the understanding between those, and see which might best benefit you for what you're wanting to get done. Basically, what you need to know is there is one object type that is an inline object. What that means is it will be typed in line with text. So if you have a 12-point font, but you have a 1/2 inch object like we have, then you're going to have that 1/2 inch object take up the entire row, or that much space in your row, no matter how long it is, but it will always be a 1/2 inch. And if you have text in that line, it will just be the 0.10 or 10 point or 12-point font. When you go down to the next line, it will be a regular line, but anything that's typed above there, it's just going to look a little funny because it stays in the line of text. All of the rest of the different objects that we have in are a type of floating object. They will allow the text to flow around them depending on the type you choose. Like, we're going to use a square, so that there will be a square formed around the object, and text can come up to that. Tight is just going to kind of make the same edge as the shape that you have. So there's lots of different other ones. You can have text go over or behind, top and bottom, whatever. So those are just different types of the objects that you can have. We are going to have this object that we just created have a specific position. So whenever we have a line of text that we want to align either to the left margin, to the right margin, or center, that's similar to what we're going to be doing with this object. So when we're working with objects, we're going to be working with the shape format, and in the Arrange section of that ribbon, you will see that there is a position button. If you click that position button, you will see that there is an option for inline with text, which will be similar to what I was telling you earlier. If you choose this this first option in the first row, first column, it will align to the top left, and it will have square text wrapping. We want to choose the option that's in the middle. So what this is going to do is it's going to stay at the top, but it's going to be centered. So as you move your mouse through those, you'll see some of the different things that it will look like. So we want to choose the middle one in that top row where it says with text wrapping. Currently, I don't know if you noticed, but when we chose this, it says that it is with square text wrapping. And I kind of explained square a little bit, where makes a square all the way around the outside. Well, we're going to change that by changing the word wrap text option. And so right now you'll see that square is the one that is selected because it has that little icon grayed out. We are going to choose the option that is top and bottom. So we'll click over here onto the top and bottom, and now our text will either be at the top of that object or at the bottom, but it won't be wrapping around on the sides. With our shape still selected, we are going to apply a shape style. We've talked about styles in our other two modules that we've gone through. In Module 2, we worked with like the footnote style and the style of the entire document, the normal style, which we modified. And then in the first module, we worked with some different styles of the heading that we put in up there on our flyer. So for our rectangle, we are going to continue in this Shape Format tab, and you'll see that there are shape styles here. We are going to use the More button, and we are going to choose the orange accent color, which is Orange Accent 2, but we're going to go down to the first section of this where it says Theme Styles, and then you have Presets. But we're going to stay in the Theme Styles, the orange column, and the next to the last one is called Moderate Effect Orange Accent 2. So it's kind of hard to see that with my mouse there. Moderate Effect Orange Accent 2. So we'll click on that, and you'll see a slight change where it's a little lighter at the top, and then it gets that full solid orange down at the bottom. With our rectangle still selected, we are going to change the outline on our shape. So while we have our shape selected, we are going to go to the Shape Outline button in our Shape Styles, and when we use the drop-down arrow there, we are going to change it to Gold Accent 4. And so now our shape has a gold outline around it. While our shape is still selected, we will go right below the shape outline to the shape effects, and we're going to choose Glow. And then we're going to go into the Glow Variations, and again we're going to go to that Gold Accent 4, and we want to choose the 5-point Gold Accent Color 4. So these go in increasing numbers, so we have Glow 5-point, this is Glow 8-point, Glow 11-point, and this is Glow 18-point. So we're going to use the top one, which is Glow 5-point, and it's in that Gold Accent Color 4. So now you'll see the gold coming out a little bit more around that shape. We're ready to put some text in our shape. And so there's a couple of different ways that you can do text. You can just click inside and start typing your text. But if we're following along in the book, they have us do a right click, and then you'll get this mini toolbar that pops up, as well as the shortcut menu that pops up. So on the shortcut menu, you should see, which I'm not seeing, and add text. So I don't know why I'm not seeing that, but hopefully when you do a right click, oh, maybe because I already typed in there. So now I have edit text. So since I double clicked and typed in there, that's probably why. So I'll just do edit text and then it'll take me in there. And we are going to type Sunset State College. We're going to increase our font to 24. So we'll have to select our font or text that we have typed in there. And then you'll have your mini toolbar that pops up. You can click on the increase font until it gets to 24 points. Or you can use your drop down arrow here and choose 24. You can also click here and type in 24. So multiple ways that you can increase your font size. While we still have our text selected, we can also click the B for bold, or you can do Control B. And we're going to click outside of our selection there, and then in your directions it tells you to save this as your letterhead. We don't need to do that because we're just going to continue. You can save now if you want to, but we don't need to keep this separate. Now, in real life, if you were wanting to create a letterhead for your job or for your own personal use, you will want to create a document that is only your letterhead, and then you can save that. You could save it as a read-only file, and so that means that you would only be able to open it and use it, but not make any changes or save it accidentally. And then you could just reuse that same letterhead over and over. But for our purposes, for this, we're just going to keep right on going. All right, we are going to add a picture to our letterhead. And we are going to use the eagle, which is the picture that we downloaded. So we're going to click on our Insert ribbon, and then we're going to choose Pictures. And if you're following along with your textbook, it's going to have you do online pictures, but we're just going to use the ones that are on our device because we've downloaded this picture already. And I'm just going to go to my downloads because that's where it should be. And so here's my flaming eagle. And I'm just going to insert this. And I'll just warn you right now, it's going to be very large. But we're going to change the size and everything to make it fit where we want it to be. So we have our picture selected, and what we're going to do is we're going to make this smaller. And the way that they have us do this is we are going to be on our picture format ribbon, and all the way over to the left hand side where we see the size, we're going to use that little icon that's in the lower right corner of the size section of this ribbon, and this is going to open up our dialog box for the size of our picture. And what we want to do is we're going to go into the scale section of this, and we are going to change the height to 10%, and then if you press your tab key, it goes over to the width and it automatically changes it to 10% because we have the check mark right here in this lock aspect ratio. So it's always going to proportionally resize unless you take that check mark off. We'll click OK, and then it's going to make this a little bit smaller, which it should make it even smaller than that. So the end size should be a ½ inch tall, so it's going to be the same size as our rectangle. Mine started out at 20%. I didn't think that was right. So what you can do is just come up here to the height. We want that to be a 1/2 inch tall. So I can tab. It's going to make it then 0.65 wide. So this is the size that you really want it to be in proportion to your heading or your letterhead rectangle that we've created up there. So if you didn't get the right size, like I didn't get the right size, then you'll need to make sure you resize it properly. We're going to mess around with this picture some, doing some changes to the colors and flipping it, rotating, all of these different things. So while we have our picture selected, I'm going to move this over here so it's more in the center. Maybe I won't. No, I guess we'll leave it there. Okay, so while our picture format tab is selected, we're going to go over here to the color button. And you will see that there are several sections here. We have a color saturation. So this is like 0 color up to 400% saturation. So it gets really bright. Then you have the different tones, and then you have the recolor section. What we are going to do is we are going to go to the gold accent color for dark. So this is going to be in the recolor section, and since we're wanting to do gold, again we still have the accent colors. So this is our accent color 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is our gold. We want the one in the middle there that is gold accent color for dark. So now you'll see that the background is gold, and what used to be, if I do my undo button here, you'll see what used to be orange there has now turned to that gold color as well. We're going to also make some adjustments to the corrections part of this. So we'll click on the corrections, and this is dealing with the sharpness or softening of. So usually where it is selected, it's in the middle. It's at 0. So this is 0%. And down here in our brightness and contrast, you'll see the gray outline around this middle one where it's 0 brightness and 0 contrast. So all of that's set to normal. So what we want to do is choose 120% brightness and minus 20% contrast. That is a typing error. We want plus 20 and minus 20. So we want plus 20 brightness and minus 20 contrast. So we're going up 1 row and over 1 column to the right. Now, I don't really notice a whole lot of that on my computer screen, but I will tell you when you turn this in, when Sam starts grading it, he will know the difference. So just make sure you get the right one. While our picture is still selected, we want to add a border. So while we're on our picture format tab, here is our picture border. That's in our picture styles section. So we'll click on our picture border button, and we are going to choose gold accent 4 as the border for this picture. We also want to change the text wrapping of our object. So we're going to go to our Arrange section. We're going to go to the Wrap Text, and we're going to choose In Front of Text. Now, I want to also show you, when you have your picture selected, you have this little icon that pops up that has the rainbow shape, and the lines behind it. That is your wrap text button that pops up right there. So you can also choose it. Now you don't have the words laid out like it did, but you can hold your mouse over it. And this was in front of text, and this is the one I want. So I can click that and I get the option that I want. If you chose this little pop-out menu here, you can click the X to close that. And now we are ready to move our picture, and we want to move it up so that it is lined up with our heading, our rectangle up here that is part of our letterhead. So you'll see the green guideline on the left, and I think if we use the one on the top, that is going to be a little bit high for us. So just use the one on the side and then try to line it up as best you can with that orange rectangle. Now that we have our picture looking the way we want it, we are going to copy our picture, we're going to paste it, and then we're going to move it to the other side of our letterhead here. So we have our eagle picture selected. They have us go to our home ribbon. We can choose copy, and then you're going to choose paste. You can also do Control C and then Control V. Now, when you do paste, you will get this little paste options button that pops out here. And you have two choices. You can keep the source formatting, or you can just use the picture. Well, we want to keep the source formatting because we want to keep it matching this other one. So we're going to choose that first option there that says Keep Source Formatting. And then we're going to take this picture with our four-headed arrow, and we're going to move it over here to the other side. Now, you should get the green guideline that pops up on the right-hand side of your screen now. Just line that up, and then line it up as best you can with the orange rectangle. We want our eagle to be flipped so that it is facing the orange rectangle instead of facing towards the edge of the page. So while our picture is still selected, we are going to make sure that we go to our Picture Format tab, and in the Arrange section of our Picture Format ribbon, you will see the Rotate option. We're going to click the Rotate option, and then we want to choose Flip Horizontally. As you move your mouse down through there, you'll see what some of those other ones do. We want to flip it horizontally, and that makes the eagle be facing towards the inside of our letterhead. This next part is where some students have some difficulty and things don't get lined up the way they're supposed to. Then we get errors in the grading, and it's difficult for me to figure out how to help you with this other than starting from scratch again. So try not to press the Enter key unless you're told to, press the space bar, do any changes unless you read the directions that you're supposed to. So we are going to take our insertion point and position it below the shape that has our name. And so you should be seeing it below the letterhead. There should, if you have your paragraph or your show hide button turned on, you'll see that paragraph sign there. We want to center this line, so we're going to come up here to our paragraph section. We'll choose the Center Align option. And then we're going to type the address here. So Office of Admissions, comma, 1001 Canton Street, comma, MC 3300, comma, NOBATO CA 94945. Then we're going to press the space bar. And we are ready to insert a symbol. Now, a lot of students have problems getting the correct symbol. So, pay attention, make sure that you follow the directions and get the correct symbol. What we're going to do is we're going to leave our insertion point right there after we've pressed the space bar, and then we're going to go to our insert ribbon. On the far right end where we see the word symbol, we're going to click that button. Now, when we click our symbol button, we will get some previous or preset symbols that are shown for us, and we should have a dot symbol there. We will click on that dot . Don't know that it tells us. Yeah, I don't see where it tells us that. If you'll notice when you hold your mouse over that dot, it says that it's symbol 183. So each of the symbols have a numeric reference to them, or an identification of some kind. So this is Webdings 52. So sometimes you can identify if you have the correct symbol that they're wanting. We're just going to click this top circle icon up here so it puts that dot in for us. And then we're going to press the space bar again. And we're going to type the phone number 415-555-0199. Press our space bar. Then we're going to click our symbol button again, and we should find our dot again. So we'll click that dot. Then we'll hit our space bar, and we're going to type sunsect.edu. Sunset.edu. Now, I will tell you, when you get ready to put in symbols for your homework, I believe it does give you the numeric code that goes with that. So I'm just going to show you how you can go in and find that. If you don't see it in the list that they give you, or that you find in your symbols, you can go into the More Symbols, and then here in the lower right hand corner it says Character Code. So if I type in 183, it's not taking me there because I am in normal text. So I probably need to go to I probably need to change this maybe to Basic Latin. Let me see what 183 does there. Nope, it's the same thing. Oh, I went back to Extended Latin. Well, I may have to change, you may have to change your font to what are we usually, Calibri or something like that. No, it's not coming up. So I don't know. There's some way to know exactly what that code is that you can put in there. I don't think it's under special characters, but and maybe I am missing part of that code. But yeah, see here it says symbol 183. So I don't know if there's a symbol. Okay, so here's your symbol font, and then you should, let's see, if we put in 183 here, then it comes up to the dot. So if you are given a numeric number for your symbol, you'll want to make sure you change the font to the symbol font, and then you should be able to put in your character code down here. Next thing we're going to do is add a paragraph border. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to add a line at the bottom of our letterhead here. So we want to be in the row where we just typed sunset.edu. Shouldn't have pressed the space bar, you should just be right there at the end. And what we're going to do is we're going to come up, we are going to have to go to our home ribbon, and then in the paragraph section we're going to go to the borders button. And you'll probably notice that this border button has the bottom border line already selected. If that is not the one that is the selected option for you, you will need to use your drop down arrow and choose the option that says bottom border. While we have our insertion point at the end of the sunset.edu, we're ready to go to the next line. So if we press our Enter key, you will notice that the paragraph border, bottom border that we just put in, moves down. And we actually want that to be above this line, this paragraph mark here. So what we're going to do is something that's called clear formatting. So it's going to clear all the formatting for this paragraph marker, but not all of the formatting for this paragraph that we just moved from. So this border will move back up and be the bottom border of that previous paragraph. So to clear our formatting, what we are going to do is come up to our home ribbon, and in the font section, above the font color, you will see an A that looks like it has a pencil with an eraser on it there, and that is your clear all formatting. So if we click that, it removes all the formatting from this line, from this paragraph. And so this is a paragraph that has none of that other formatting to it. It moved it back to the left. There's not a bottom border. So that is how you keep the paragraph border with that previous paragraph and move on to do the rest of your letter. All right, so if you haven't saved for a while, you might want to go ahead and click that Save button. And that is creating the letterhead. Now we're ready to go ahead and start the letter. In your textbook, it gives you some information about creating a business letter. If you haven't typed letters, and a lot of people don't anymore because keyboarding, word processing is not a required class typically anymore, and so not everybody learns the different parts of the business letters. So in your textbook, it talks about the different parts of the letter. So you'll start with what's called a date line, where we put the date that we're writing the letter, and then you'll have an inside address, which is who the letter is going to. After that, you will have a Dear Mr., Dear Mrs., Dear Sally, or whatever. That is escaping me right now, what that is called, but I know it's called something. It will come to me here in just a little bit. After we have the Dear Mr., then we have the message, or the main body of the letter. After you've completed the letter, then you have what's called the signature block. The signature block is going to have the letter writer's name typed out. Then you will press your Enter key 4 times, which will leave 3 blank lines for the letter writer to sign their name. I'm sorry, back up. You have the complimentary close, which is the sincerely. Then you have the 4 returns, or 4 enters, which allows room for the person to sign. On that 4th line, you type the writer's name. And then if needed, you can put their title below if it doesn't fit on that line. And it depends on who's writing the letter, whether they're going to have a title or something along with it. If you have any enclosures, those things go below, but I don't think we do, so we don't have to worry about that. We have our insertion point positioned at the top of what's going to be our letter. Because we use single spacing for letters instead of 1.15 line spacing or double spacing, we need to change our line spacing for the remainder part of this document to no spacing. So we'll come up to our styles that's on our home ribbon, and right next to the normal style you will see the one that says no spacing. So we're going to click that, and that's going to remove the spacing between rows. So you'll see, if you look at the line spacing, it's now, instead of 1.15, it's set to 1. So every time we press the Enter key, the next line of text is going to be right below the previous line. Okay, next page in your textbook talks about the elements of the letter. So we have the date line, the inside address, the salutation, that's the Dear Mr. or Dear Mrs., the message or the body, your complimentary close, and then your signature block. There are different types of letters, some that have commas after the salutation, some that don't, some that have colons, some that don't. Some of them are indented paragraphs, some of them are all the way at the left edge. So it really just depends on who is doing the composing, what format that they are wanting to use. The first thing that we're going to type is our date line. Our date line and our complimentary close and signature block all need to be positioned at the halfway mark of our letter. So we need this line, which is going to have our date, to start, I believe it's at the 4-inch mark on our ruler. So instead of spacing over there or tabbing over there, what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to set a tab stop. Now what a tab stop does is allows you to press the tab key one time and it moves to that location on the ruler bar where you've set it. Most people nowadays do not know how to use tabs. They do not know how to set tabs. They probably don't even know what the word tab means unless they're thinking it's the tab of the Coke can that they pop off or whatever. So it is very convenient when you are typing documents that need to be lined up to know how to use tabs, how to set tabs properly, how to use tabs. And some of it is just kind of playing around with it and seeing what works. Once you have a tab stop set and you continue pressing the Enter key without clearing your formatting, that tab stop will continue through the document with you. And the reason I point that out is because we're going to set the tab stop before we put our date in, and we're going to do all the rest of our letter, and when we get down to the end and we're ready to type that sincerely or yours truly, that complimentary close, we're going to press our tab key again, and it should go exactly to that same spot where we started our date on this date line. So the easiest way to create a tab is to use your ruler up here at the top. Whenever you see the ruler, if you go all the way to the left edge of your window, you will see this section right here that is a white square, and it looks like it has a little L in it. Okay, this is your tab option button, or I'm sure it has a more technical term than that. But these are the different types of tab stops that you can have. So when you see that there's a little black L in there, that's going to tell you that if you set a tab stop, it's going to be a left tab. That is the most common type of tab that you will use. If you click this little white button once, it will then look like it has an upside down T in it. This identifies that you will be putting in a center tab. So if you put in a centered tab, you will tab to that spot, and then anything that you type will move from, it will add to the left and the right at the same time, so the word ends up being centered at that tab stop. If you click it one more time, it becomes a backwards L, and this is what's called a right tab. What the right tab does is when you tab to that location, it does not go any farther to the right. Everything you type will move back to the left, and that will give you a clean edge on the right edge if you're using a right tab stop. The next ones on here, I don't use a whole lot. I have used the decimal tab. This is the decimal tab, which will allow you to, if you're typing anything with decimals, whether it be dollars and cents or whether it just be fractions listed as decimal places that you need to add the 3 or 4 decimal places, it will line up the decimal place in your column of numeric values that you have. The next one is a bar, a solid bar up and down. It's called a bar tab. And I've not used this. What it's supposed to do is put a line in there where you've pressed it to help identify the different sections where you're putting those tabs. Like I said, I have not played with that one enough to know much more about it than what it's called. If you click it one more time, you get this, I call it the bottom portion of the hourglass. If you look over here at the left edge of your ruler, you see this hourglass. I talked about that a little bit in the module 2. The top part that points down is your first line indent. The bottom triangle that points up is your hanging indent. So when you have this option selected and you click on the ruler, it should take the bottom part and move it, but it didn't. So let me see what this does. All right, so it's opposite, I guess. So this one will set your hanging indent, and the other one will set your left indent. And then you come back to the L for the left tab. So what we want to do, I know that was a long explanation of that, but there is an example in your textbook of what those will look like if you use the different ones. But what we want to do is make sure our ruler is shown. We're going to click up on the ruler with our mouse at the 3.5-inch mark on the ruler. So we're going to take our mouse, come up here to the 3.5-inch mark, and when we click that, you will see now that there's a black L at that 3.5-inch mark. If you get it in the wrong spot, or if you're a little click happy and you get more than one up there, to remove tabs, you can click on it and drag that L down into your document and it will just disappear. If you have it and it's off just a little bit, you can click and drag it back to the location where it needs to go. If you're not able to get it at exactly that 3.5-inch mark on the ruler, there are other ways that you can adjust it. If you do a double click on the ruler, it opens up your tabs dialog box. And you'll see when I double clicked on that I put another tab stop in there, and that's the one at the 3.38. So I can select that and I can clear that one tab out so that now I only have that 3.5-inch tab on my ruler bar. If you get into the tabs dialog box, you'll see that you have those different tab choices to choose from. Here, the bottom part with the leaders, you've probably seen those before where you have a line of stuff and then you have the dot, 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 dot all the way over to the next column of information. You've probably seen that in like a program that you have, whether it be a musical program or a graduation program or something like that. We do not work with the leaders, but that's where you can find them if you need to. So if you weren't able to get this, maybe yours is set at the 3.6 mark on the ruler and you need it to be changed, you can just come here, edit it from the 3.6 to the 3.5, and then just say set, and it will put that where it needs to be. So evidently I didn't get rid of that one, so I'll just clear that one out by myself. All right, and one other thing I need to tell you about tabs. By default, Microsoft Word has a tab stop every half-inch. So if I were just to open up a document and press tab, 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 I would move over a 1/2 inch every time I pressed the tab on the ruler bar. Which, in essence, you could just press tab, 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 tab until you get to this point on the ruler bar. The problem with doing that for this project is that Sam will not score that as a correct step that you have completed. So you have to know how to set that tab stop and then use it properly. So, and the way that we use it properly is now that we have that tab stop set, we have to now press the tab key to move to that 3.5-inch mark on our ruler. A lot of people forget to do that. They have it set, but they forget to press the tab key. Now that we have the tab set and our insertion point is where we want it, we're ready to put in the date. But we're not just going to type in the date. We are going to go to our Insert tab, and then we are going to come over, oops, let me make this big again. We're going to come over to the text section of our Insert tab, and you'll see the date and time option there. When you click on that, you'll see a list of different dates that you can select. And we are wanting to choose the month spelled out, the day of the month with a comma and then the 4-digit date. So mine is the third option down. So I'll click the OK button, and now my date has been put in. Oops, sorry, I forgot to show you this. In the date and time dialog box, you have an option here to update automatically. That box usually does not have a check mark in it, and that's what you want. Occasionally, you may have a document that you want the date to be updated automatically. Basically, what that means is whenever you open that document, whatever day it is, that is the date that is put in the document that you created. So some letters you may want to do that, but most of them you want to not have it updated, especially if you're saving it. You'll want to have a record of when it was typed and sent to that person, so you won't want that date to be automatically updated. So we need to make sure that's taken off. Okay. We're going to press our Enter key 3 times. This is going to leave us 2 lines that are blank between our date and our inside address. So our inside address is to Mr. Caleb Thomas. After we have the inside address typed, we'll press our Enter key twice. This will just leave 1 blank line between our address and our salutation. So this is where we're going to type Dear Caleb. And so this salutation is going to depend on how well you know the person. If you can say Dear Caleb, if you need to say Dear Mr. Thomas, you need to know that as you're creating your document here. We're going to press the Enter key twice again. This is going to leave us 1 blank line after the salutation, and we're ready to start the body of our letter. Where did my pause go? After we have the first paragraph typed, we're going to press the Enter key twice. That leaves a blank line before we start our next paragraph. Then we type this beginning of the paragraph. We're going to leave 1 blank line, so you press the Enter key twice. And on this next row is where we're going to insert a table. To insert a table, this is on our Insert ribbon. Right here is the Table button. You can click that drop down menu, or that More button there, and we're going to come down. We're going to choose a 3x1 table. We want 3 columns and just 1 row. Now, end result is I think we're going to have 4 rows. So you technically could choose a 3x4 table if you want to. The thing is, as you're typing and you press the Tab key at the end, it automatically adds the next row. If you have 4 rows, it will not add another row until you get that 4th row filled up, and then if you need another row and press the Tab key, it will give that to you. Once we have this first row put in there, we're going to type in the column headings. So we have date, event, and notes. then you can press your Tab key, and this is going to maybe take a little time for you to type out because it is a date. So we have July 12th through the 16th and July 19th through the 23rd. The event is orientation and registration. And the notes say see brief, schedule on next page. Now, once you have that first line typed, we can press our Tab key. I'm sorry, that's our second line. Press our Tab key, we get another new row, and then we're going to type in August 16th, type in 17th, move in days, assigned by housing, services. Then we're going to type in August 23rd, fall term begins, first day of classes. I will just say, watch your capitalization here. Some of these things are capitalized. Some of them are not. I think some of them should be capitalized that aren't. So just pay attention to that because it will be counted in SAM when they do the grading. So just keep that in mind. Okay. We have our table created, and now we are going to apply a table style to this. So our table looks a little blah right now because it's just black and white. So we're going to choose a style because we have our table created and I'm inside my table. The table design tab is showing. It could also be in the table layout tab. It probably just depends on what you've done or where you clicked previously, but we want to make sure we're on the table design tab, and you will see that there are several table styles that are shown here. We're going to click the More button, and again you're going to want to watch carefully which one you're choosing here. All right, back up. We have to come over here to the table style options, and we need to remove where it says first column because we don't want that first column to be formatted separately. That would be if you have the top row and the left column that are identified as like column and row headings, and we don't want that. We do want that. We have a header row, and we can have banded rows, which means every other row is going to be a different color. So now that we have that selected or unchecked, then we're going to go into our gallery. So we'll use our drop down arrow here, and we are looking for Grid Table 1 Light Accent 2. So if you know which accent color you're looking for now, you should know that this blue is accent 1 and the orange is accent 2. These are labeled as grid tables. These are labeled as list tables. So you should be able to figure out you want the grid table and you want something here in the orange column because that is accent 2. So the first one here is Grid Table 1 Light Accent 2. And that's what we want. You'll see that they go over into the second part too. So you have some over there, but we want just the first one here. So our top row is going to have a bolder underline, but all of our lines are going to be change to this accent color orange. We are going to select the third column. So if you put your mouse over there where the notes are and you kind of get to the top point of that column, you can click your drop down arrow and it will select that entire column for you. We are going to do Control I. We want to italicize that entire column. The next section in your textbook talks about selecting table content, so how you can go around selecting different parts of your table. So that's good information to know. We've decided that we would like to insert a row in our table. So what we need to do is determine where we want that row to be. So we have determined that we want it to be between August 16th and 17th and August 23rd. Since we know where we want it, we are going to click in the row that is August 23rd. And then we are going to, if you hold your mouse right there at the edge between August 16th and 17th and then the August 23rd, you'll see a little plus sign show up there. You can click that. It will add a row between those two, and we're going to add August 16th through 20th. Welcome week. Get your schedule during orientation. You can also insert a column. So if you go to the Layout tab, you will see in the rows and columns, you can insert a row above, insert a row below, insert a column to the left, or insert a column to the right of where you are currently. I will point out to you, because I have my non-printing characters on with my paragraph signs showing here where I press the Enter key, you also see in the table these little squares at the bottom or the end of each typing in each cell. These are what's called end of cell marks. The ones that are outside the table are called end of row marks. And that just lets you know where the end of that is. So if I happen to press the Enter key, if I don't have my paragraph signs for my show hide turned on, what you'll see is just that there's a lot of blank space left here. And you're like, well, why is that blank space there? And so you could be clicking around and you're like, what? Where is that? So it's a good idea, if that is the case, you can turn this on and then you can see, oh, well, I've pressed the Enter key there and I didn't mean to. So that end of cell mark needs to be at the very end of whatever you typed that you want to be the last thing showing in that cell. Resizing column tables and rows. We're going to look at that here in just a little bit, but you can put your mouse on the column break and you can click and drag it back and forth to change the size. If you're done with the table or you just have it so messed up that you just want to start all over again, you can click this four-headed arrow that's at the top left-hand corner. That selects your entire table. You should be able to press the delete, but that usually is what happens is I just delete the text. Usually what you can do is do a right-click and choose Delete Table, and it'll get rid of your entire table. We do not want to do that at this point, though. But that is something that is kind of handy to know whenever your table just gets all messed up and you're just like, it'd be easier to start over. All right, so now that we have get that spelled right. We have our table created like we want it. We're going to press our Enter key once. We want one blank line after that table as well. So we have to do the following things before we can do orientation. So let's look and see what that is. Here we're going to create a bulleted list. And now we've done bulleted lists before, but they're going to show us how we can create a bulleted list as we are typing. So I'm going to press my Enter key. And then I'm going to type an asterisk. So you do Shift and the number 8. If you have that 10 keypad and you have that asterisk over there, you can use that as well. When I press my space bar, it's automatically going to change that asterisk into a bullet. It's going to indent it, and then it's going to tab afterwards, so I can type my first item on the list that I have to do. Then when you press your Enter key, it is going to have another bullet show up. Since you started with the asterisk and pressed the Tab key, it's assuming you're wanting to type a bulleted list. So we will go ahead and type the rest of these bulleted items. We'll press Enter again, and then if we press Enter one more time, that turns off that automatic bulleting, and it brings us back to our left margin where we're ready to type another paragraph. We'll press our Enter key one more time so that we have a blank line between that list of items we need to do and our last paragraph. Exclamation points. Make sure when I typed one earlier tonight, make sure when you type exclamation point that you actually get the exclamation point, not a number 1, not a period, whatever. Those are characters that students have a lot of problems with making sure they get. That's our last paragraph. We're going to press the Enter key twice to leave one blank line. This is where we're going to press Tab. Should go right to that 3.5 inch mark. We'll type sincerely, comma. You're going to press that Enter key 4 times. You'll tab again, and we're going to type Lucy's name, Lucy R. Song. Press the Enter, tab again. And she's the Director of Admissions. Okay, you probably want to do another save here. We are going to create a second page, so we're going to create a page break, and this is going to have where did it say? Oh, see the brief schedule on the next page. So what we're going to create on the next page is that set of notes that goes along with that event of orientation. So what we want to do is make sure that we are at the end of the word admissions. And then we are going to go to our Insert tab. And then in the page break section, we can just click on that page break and it will put that page break in for us. Now you'll see the page break shown here, and we are starting on the top of that next page. We are going to center, so you can go back to your home ribbon and click on the center. You can also do Control E to center. We're also going to bold, so we'll do Control B. And we want to change our font size to 36. So we can do a right click, use our shortcut menu, our mini toolbar here, and change this to 36. Again, if you've gone back to the home ribbon, you'll see all of these things already. We are also going to change the font color to Orange Accent 2, darker 25%. So we are going to have to go to the home ribbon for that one. Actually, you could use your mini toolbar too, but we're going to go to the font. We want the Orange Accent 2, and we want to do darker 25%. So we'll go to the next to the last one. All right, so now we are ready to type at the top of this. So we're going to type orientation and registration. We'll press our Enter key, and we're going to type student schedule. We're going to select these two rows, and we're going to click the borders arrow. And then we're going to go to borders and shading, which is at the very bottom of this row. This is going to bring up our borders and shading dialog box. We want to make sure that we choose the box setting. And then in the styles, we're going to choose the 5th style. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is our style that we want. We're going to change the color to the Orange Accent 2. And we're going to change the width arrow to 2.14. We'll click the OK button. So that's just going to put a border around those 2 lines of text. Make sure you're at the end of the word schedule. You can press your Enter key once, and then we're going to come back up here and do that clear formatting like we did earlier. So we're underneath that box that we just created. We want to come back up here and choose no spacing in our styles on our home ribbon. We're going to change the font size to 14. Press our Enter key so that we have a blank line there. We look forward to meeting you! Exclamation point. oops, be on campus, sorry, for orientation and registration. Press enter twice, and then we're going to type this next paragraph. During orientation, we will walk around campus. So please dress accordingly. We are going to select the words 2 days. We want the 6th underline style in the underline gallery. So while we have that selected, we're going to come up here to the underline options. So we find our 6th line. We're going to choose our underline option again here, and then we're going to go down to the underline color, and we are going to choose Orange Accent 2. Right, now we're going to use the Format Painter. And I don't think that we have used that before, but the nice thing about the Format Painter, we're going to use this again in Excel. The nice thing about it is we can format a word or a group of words the way that we want them to look, and then we are able to use the Format Painter, which will copy all of that formatting, and then we're going to paste it using the paintbrush that we get to the location where we want to format the same as the previous that was already formatted. So we want to select text that contains the formatting that we want to copy. So we have the 2 days is what's selected with that underlining. So we are going to then come up to our Format Painter, and you can single click and it will allow you to use this one time. So we're going to find the Dress Accordingly, and you'll be able to click and drag across those 2 words. So now we have both of those areas underlined with the dotted lines by using the Format Painter in that. Okay. They have us type or press the End key. If you are using a laptop, notebook, computer, you may have to use one of those Function or Control keys to be able to use that End key. So I clicked my End key. So I'm at the end of this typing that we just did. I'm going to press my Enter key twice, and then they have us save this again, which is not a bad idea. And we are ready to put in, whoops, hold on, I got my period there. I need to put it back and then move down. All right, so we are going to put in a Smart Art graphic now. Smart Art graphic is something that is a predefined set of shapes that work together, that can be added to or taken away from. They typically have some colors to them that coordinate and help identify different parts of the Smart Art graphic. But you'll see as we go through here and do this, this is just an easy way to identify the different things that are going to be going on at this college on those orientation days. So we want to make sure that our insertion point is on this blank line after we've pressed the Enter key twice. Then we're going to come up to our Insert tab. And then where we found our shapes earlier, you'll see the Smart Art. And then we are going to choose over here on the left where it says List, and this is going to give us just those that are identified as Smart Art graphics that could have a list of information. So once we have List, we are going to choose the grouped list. So I think this is, no. We want the grouped list in the middle pane. Okay, is this a grouped list? Yes. All right, so I have the grouped list. Select that. And then we'll click our OK button. It puts that Smart Art graphic in there. And we've decided that we have more than we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the edges of the shapes. So you'll see that I clicked here on the shape of text. That whole shape is selected. I can press my delete key. Then I can do the same thing for the other text and put it so that we only have 2 columns of information. Okay, so now we're ready to click in the top left shape, which is where that says text, and we're going to type the Day 1 text. We're going to go down the middle left shape, and we're going to type check in 9 to 10. Okay, so welcome and general info session, 10:15 to 11:45. Okay, now we're going to add another shape. So we're going to go to the, scroll down too fast. So we're going to have our shape selected. To add another shape to our first column here, we want to have the Welcome and General Info Session shape selected. Then we need to make sure that our Smart Art Design tab is what is selected up here on our ribbon. And we're going to just click the Add Shape button. Now, once you have that added, then you will type the information in there. And then we are going to continue adding shapes until we get all of column 1 added and all of column 2 added. So I'm going to take a break. I'm going to type that up, and then I'm going to come back and show you how to do the rest of this. After we have all of our text boxes added and information typed in there, then we are ready. Sorry, excuse me. It looks like I have a paragraph border down here. So I can either change that to, oops, I gotta get in the right place. Let me change that to no border. No, that didn't work. All right, so I had to do clear formatting. I think I missed that step. I think we were supposed to do that earlier and I missed that step. So, all right, so we have our day 1 and our day 2 and all that information put in there. We are going to come back to our Smart Art graphics. And we want to choose color changes. So that's right under the word Smart Art Design. We are going to go to colorful accent colors. So here's our colorful, and then this is our accent colors, and then you have accent colors 2 to 3 and so on. So we're going to choose the first option there. And so you'll see all of those colors change according to that color option. And in our Smart Art Styles, we're going to choose the More button here, and then we are looking for the Subtle Effect, which is maybe this one. I don't know, I can't tell. Yes, this is the one we want, Subtle Effect. So we'll click on that. It kind of dims down some of those colors for us so it's not so bright. All right, we are going to go to View, and we want to look at both pages here at the same time. And if you're like me, you've probably noticed that text got very tiny in our Smart Art graphics. So what we are going to do is, now that we see both of this together, we are going to click on the outer edge of our Smart Art graphic so the whole thing is selected, and then we are going to drag the sizing handle down. You don't really have a lot of room to go out to the side, so you're pretty much going to just go straight down with it. And then, so you want to kind of end it about the same place where you see that page break over on the letter that we actually typed up. And then they have us change the zoom to page width, so we're going to be able to see that entire page in the margins. Okay, let's save this. The next step talks about printing, which we are not going to need to print this. Thing I just need to always remind you about printing is once you do get back on campus, make sure you know which printer you are printing to in which room. Our next section here, 3-4R, talks about using the accessibility checker, and this is you can do this if you go into the backstage view. So if you click the File option, And then I'm looking for the check for issues, but I'm not seeing that. Oh, I have to go to info. Sorry, I missed that step. Info, and then you can go to check for issues. And then you can do check accessibility. And what this does is it checks it to see what reading level this would be on. So over here in the accessibility, it just tells you missing alternative text, image or object not in line, and then suggested alternative text. So that's just some information that you can use there with the accessibility checker. In your textbook, it talks about adding alternative text to graphics and to tables. Our next section talks about envelopes and printing envelopes and doing mailings or mailing labels. Because this is a letter, let me go back to page 1 here. If we needed to print an envelope to go with this, you can come and highlight your inside address, and once you have it selected, then we'll go to the Mailings tab, and you can click on Envelope. Once you do that, you will see a little Envelope and Labels window open up, and this is the delivery address. And so you could put your return address as Sunset State College, Office of Admissions. And then you'd want to put the rest of that. I'm just going to make it quick here. So this would be our return address. So if I were to print this, it would show me this is what the preview would look like. Depending on what printer you have connected to, it will show you how to feed the printer or the envelope through. A lot of people don't like putting envelopes through their printers now, especially if you have like laser printers and they can get all caught up in there and stuff. So that's where printing the labels comes in handy. Let me just go ahead and show you. I'm just going to click this Add to Document. And anytime you add a new return address, it's going to ask you if you want to save that as the default return address. If you're doing a lot of these from the same address, like if I was at Sunset State College and I knew that it would be the same thing over and over again, I could say yes to that. But I am going to say no for right now. And this is going to show me what the envelope would look like. And in fact, if I make this smaller, you will see that it actually kind of gives you a sample of what the size of the envelope will look like, along with the letter and then your third page here. So if you were to print, you would need to put your envelope in first. You can also just print the envelope if you went into the print option and just did print page 1. It would only print this page for you. So you can save it with that. You can always just print page 2 and 3 if you need to. Let me go back to the mailings. And here's where we were before. If you want to just create labels, you could do a full page of the same labels. if you use the return address, that's probably what you would want to do, is create a full page of those labels, because that would be what you would use more of. And then you could just print individual labels. So if you wanted to print a single label, you could just print Caleb's. If you're using like a preset, pre-formatted label sheet, what you would have to do is make sure that you have the label in the proper location of where your next label is available. And if you're the person that's doing this, you'll do trial and error, and you'll have lots of mistakes at first, and then you'll get it all figured out. So, okay, I'm going to go back to one page. And your textbook gives you some more information about envelopes and labels there. But that's the last part of this. So you would just make sure you save that, go ahead and submit it, look at your report, see how you did, and then make your changes as necessary and submit again. So hopefully this will be helpful for you as you're working through Module 3 of Microsoft Word.